saying it like that makes it seem like a religion. Like I grew up in the 7-Eleven household, and then as I got older, I just found my way to Wawa, and they were really speaking my language, and my language is Italian hoagies.
Hi, my name is Richard Dix, and this is How Did That Happen? A podcast where I look at everyday things or events and try to figure out how they came to be. Every week I will research one topic, and by the end of the episode, I hope to truly have the answer to the question, how did that happen?
Hello, and welcome to another episode of How Did That Happen? This week we are discussing gas stations. Which one is your favorite? Come along for the ride this week as I ask, gas stations, how did that happen? All right. Thanks for coming back for another episode of How Did That Happen? We are here for episode 40, HDTH. Who would have ever thought, not this guy, not episode 1, would have never thought we'd get to episode 40. So I appreciate everybody who comes back and presses play. If you're new to this is your first week, I appreciate you as well. Let's see, what can we get into before the episode starts? What have I seen? What I think is going to happen now. I started this segment as a what have I been reading, and I do think I mentioned earlier that I go through these spells where I don't always read. I read for about 2 to 3 months at a time, and then I kind of put down books, and I come back to it. So right now I'm not reading anything. So what I decided to change it to is what I saw, or what I saw yesterday, what I'm watching now, sort of thing. And I've kind of been doing that for the past couple weeks, anyways. But it'll transition from time to time, and when I pick those books back up, trust me, you'll be the first to know. Let's see, what am I watching right now? I started watching that movie, The Northman, because I have Peacock, because I have Xfinity, because I got Peacock and whatever. But been watching that, and I'm the first 30 minutes of it are captivating, cannot describe, could not tear my eyes away from it. It was literally like must see TV, and I would recommend, if anybody has a half an hour to kill and they want something to watch the first 30 minutes of Northman. See if you don't, at the very least, have questions. You know what I mean? You may not love it, you may not understand it, but you'll leave there with wanting to follow up. You know what I mean? So yeah, but after that, it kind of lost me. The journey wasn't really there for me. But maybe I'll go back because, like I said, because they do some things. No spoiler, which is this is the beginning of the movie. What am I spoiling? But like the Viking men, and they're trying to declare their manhood in front of other men, and to show that they're not dogs, they do what I guess are manly behaviors. Ethan Hawke, I believe, is in this, and it's him and a kid that's playing his son. And Ethan, they're like show you're not a wolf, and so Ethan just burps in this dude's face, just rank, you know what I mean? And then they go to his son, and the guy's like, show me you're not a dog, and he just rips a fart, and I'm just like, this is like 1,000 years ago, which actually, to keep what, if you saw on the Twitter page, I posted what I was researching. This is nothing, these are not connected, but what I was researching while I was looking up this episode, I found out how old the word fart is, and I posted that on the Twitter page with a graphic. But it does go hand in hand to just be like 1,000 years ago, like they were, I don't know, my mouth was open just watching this thing. Like, this, if this is in any way accurate, I have questions. I don't understand humanity. But so that was good. What else am I? Is there anything else I'm really watching? I watched the new season of Rick and Morty. I'm still gonna hang in there. This first episode was I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't not feeling it. It was cool. The new episode comes out tonight because I record these on Sundays. So tonight at 11, I'll find out if I'm still into it, I guess. Let's see, what else is there? Probably not too much. You guys are like, I want to find out how these gas stations happen. You're going on about some cartoon. So yeah, so without further ado, here's the episode. Okay. So before we get into the whole idea of filling stations and gas stations and how they got to be and how they happened and all that good stuff, I thought I would start with what makes up a good gas station, at least in my opinion. And you're welcome to give your opinions as well in the on the Twitter page or however you want to get them to me. But I thought of a few things that make up a good gas station. One is free air for those tires. right? Gotta have it. Good food, which I don't think is on everybody's list for what is considered a gas station checklist. But to me, because it used to be a punchline that you don't eat at gas stations, and I still know people that don't. But it's like we've come further than that now. And there are some gas stations that people go to for lunch every day, and they somehow make it. Let's see, cheap gas. That's also going to be another one that'll make it a good makes a good gas station for me. And then the last one, which I think is not thought about that much until it's nighttime, but it's not sketchy or and it's well lit. So when you roll up into a gas station and you can see everything. There's lights and nothing's blinking. There's not some just like weird unlit corner or like a bunch of dudes who are just hanging out around it for some reason, not inside, not at their cars, they're just around it. Those guys I'm always skeptical of. So if your gas station has all five of those things, excuse me, those are four things, then that's what I consider to be a good gas station. Now, can we name some of those actual gas stations? Let's see. If you saw the Twitter page earlier this week, I posted my top three of favorite gas stations in no particular order. That was Wawa, Wawa, and Wawa. And no, I'm not from Pennsylvania, but I just have found a good product, and I know one when I see it. So we got Wawa. That's your first well-known gas station. Then we have Shell, Exxon, Citgo, 7-Eleven, and then BP. We're going to round it off with BP. Well, I will say I like BPs. I like a good BP. Their coffee is horrible, though. It is just, and it's across the board. I don't know what it is with you guys. I thought it was just one BP. When people say coffee tastes like dishwater, their coffee tastes like dishwater. It's just dishwater flavored coffee. It's as if you were going to wash dishes. You're going to wash dishes, right? You didn't put the soap in yet. You just ran that hot water and then you just dumped in a cup of coffee, into the sink. And then they're like, we'll just mass produce that and sell it for 79 cents for a small. Man, but let's see. Wawa's good. Shell, Exxon, Citgo, they don't really fall into that category of having good food. I wouldn't really eat from any of those three that I listed. I'll eat from a 7-Eleven. Always eat from a 7-Eleven. I grew up with 7-Elevens, and then I found my way to Wawa. If we're gonna put it that way. Saying it like that makes it seem like a religion. Like I grew up in the 7-Eleven household, and then as I got older, I just found my way to Wawa, and they were really speaking my language, and my language is Italian hoagies. It is. All right, so let's get past that was just laying out the idea. Like when I was first doing this, I actually had written up a bunch for the topic, and then I was like, well, like what actually makes a good gas station? Because everyone is different. And when I thought about that, I asked my coworkers some questions about that, and that's when I realized I was like, oh, you mean everybody just doesn't love Wawa? Literally, it was like an epiphany for me. I didn't. Because I asked one coworker and she was like, I go to Kroger, so I was like, whoa, like, I mean, I know Kroger has gas, but I don't even think about Kroger in any capacity. I don't shop there either, but yeah, so it just made me think about, there are different characteristics that people look to when they're trying to figure out where they're going to get their petrol. Brings us to the next part of this. Most of the world calls fuel petrol, which is not gas. I mean, it is gas, but it's not called gas. The idea of fuel being called gas remains firmly in North America. Literally on Wikipedia, it says the rest of the English-speaking world calls it petrol, which feels like a subtle shot at North America, but we're going to move on from there. So in the UK, in New Zealand, and South Africa, a filling station is called a garage or a service station, which I think I've seen this in movies, but I did not know what I was seeing. I thought they were all just like literally like, mechanic shops, but it's actually where you get gas to. Australians call it a servo, which sounds so Australian. A servo, mate, servo. In India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, they call them petrol pumps or petrol bunk. In Japan, they call them gasoline stands, which sounds right for some reason. I don't know when you have never said that before, never been to one, but gasoline stands. So I'm gonna spit a couple facts out at you about the current status of filling stations and gas stations and petrol stations in the world. Let's see. It looks like the UK has about 8,300 filling stations as of 2019, which is down almost or more than 50% than their highest. Not their highest since 92 when they had 18,000, but they had their biggest peak in the mid 60s at about 40,000 filling stations in the entire country. America, by contrast, has always had a bunch of filling stations. And they have, I don't think they mentioned the peak for America in here, but they basically say that they've always, at least for the last 20, 30, 40 years, has been at least six figures, like at least 100,000 gas stations in America. I think the most recent one they have is 2007, where it says like 118,000 gas stations. It's a lot of gas. In Japan, the number dropped from a peak of 60,000 in 94 to 40,000 in 09. Those gasoline stands, as we said. Let's see, there's a couple others on here. I don't know how important they are. Just different countries. I mean, if you're one of these countries, I'm sorry if you end up being considered not that important, but I don't know. You could read these facts all day and they can kind of get not that interesting. So we're going to jump to what you guys all came here for, which is the history of how they happened, how they came to be, service stations and filling stations. So before there were filling stations, consumers bought gasoline right out of a barrel at the grocery store or their hardware store. I mean, I just have to ew. But the new market for gas and consumer desire to buy gas more easily soon led to a landscape littered with gas stations. As we said, America has for a long time had over 100,000 gas stations. So, like I said, in the early years before there were gas stations, the consumers would get their gas from places like hardware stores, general stores, pharmacies, even blacksmiths. So pretty much anybody with a business could also sell you some gas, it seems like. I guess one thing that these pre-existing businesses had in common, the kind of the unifying factor, is that they all had pre-existing relationships with the refineries who sold kerosene, because they used it for all their stoves and for lighting everything anyway. So that's kind of what paved the way for these businesses to start selling these things. They were already kind of working with these manufacturers. And so the gas was stored in 5-gallon cans that was stacked curbside in long and large above ground tanks. And so the fuel was poured into the automobile's gas tank using a funnel, which just, we have come a long way since then. And due to the fire danger, and a series of unfortunate mishaps, public concern and regulators forced the sale of gasoline to dedicated retail facilities outside city centers, creating a new type of business, you guessed it, the filling station. Both the filling station and the gas pump would evolve into what we know now as the modern gas station. They didn't always come, like the initial iteration that was filling stations doesn't look a lot like what we have now. And I'll definitely be posting some pictures on the Twitter page about it after this goes up, but you can definitely look at any point and just see the first one in 1912 or 13 looked nothing like a 7-Eleven or a Wawa now. And so there are several locations around the United States that claim to be the site of the nation's first gas station, as far as possibly even the world's first gas station. According to a 1994 book, The Gas Station in America, by John Jackal and Keith Scully, or School, I'm getting those names wrong, where and when the first gasoline station appeared is difficult to establish, since various types of stations, in quotes, appeared on the American scene between 1907 and 1913. But the one that we're going to focus on, which is the one that is, you could say it's, most people believe or lean this way, is that in 1913, the Gulf Refining Company opened the world's first drive-in gas station at the corner of the intersection of Baum Boulevard and St. Clair Street. Baum Boulevard was then already known, and I must say this is not B-O-M-B Boulevard, it's B-A-U-M Boulevard, although it's just a pretty cool name. Meet you down at the Baum, Let's see, Baum Boulevard was then already known as Automobile Row because of the many car dealerships that already lined the streets. So drivers could pull right up into the good Gulf gasoline station with their new vehicles and fill her up. Good Gulf gasoline. Gotta love it. Let's see, the station offered free air and water, which, if you go back to my my top 4 things you need to have a good gas station, Good Gulf Gasoline is bringing it on in, ain't they? The station offered free air and water and sold the country's first commercial road maps. My notes also say that this was the first architect design station, which, means basically this was the first gas station that they designed to be a gas station that wasn't like something before that was repurposed. On its first day, the station sold 30 gallons of gas at 27 cents per gallon. On the first Saturday they were in business, they pumped more than 350 gallons of gasoline. And from then, kind of is the history. But we're not going to end it there. That's just really the first actual gas station. Who I want to talk about next is a woman by the name of Bertha Benz. Bertha Benz, double B, right? She was married to Carl Benz, who, that name sounds familiar. He's the guy behind the name Mercedes-Benz, or at least half the name. So when all this Benz stuff was kicking off back in the late 1800s, Carl had created his first car, but he wasn't, he didn't think it was done. He thought he needed more work, so he wasn't ready to put it out, to show the world. Bertha, good old Bertha, felt differently.